Hello students, today I am doing the graphs of lines worksheet. You were supposed to do the odds and then the evens for homework. And so I'm going to go through the odds because I don't want you getting the evens wrong if you did not understand the odds. So as I'm going through them, you should be on your worksheet, checking what you did and correcting them if you got them wrong. If you need to pause, just pause during any of this time. Okay, number one. Number one is 4x equals y. So on all of these, what the directions say are graph each line by plotting points and label each y-intercept. Okay, so on these, when it says plot by plotting points, you're going to make a t-chart. So I'm going to make a t-chart here. Okay, and then I'm going to pick a number for x. Sometimes this is more complicated than this, but on this one, it's pretty easy. If I pick 1 for x, that means I have 4 times 1. So my y is going to equal 4. So over here, I put 4 for the y. Now, let's pick 2 for x. So I have 4 times 2 because my x goes here, right? So 4 times 2 is 8. So my y is 8. Now, I'm not going to go do 3 because 3 is going to make it jump too high for my graph because y'all's graphs only go to 10. And if I put a 3 for x, I would get a 12 for y. So instead, I'm going to go backwards and I'm going to go 0 for x. So if x is 0, then 4 times 0 is 0 and y is also 0. Okay, now I'm going to graph mine right here beside of it. But y'all have, what happened to my delete button? Oh, there it is. Okay, but y'all have your graphs at the end of the worksheet bundle. Okay, so all of these are in the positive thing. So since my graph's a little bit bigger and different than yours, I'm going to make my x and my y axis just look like this. Okay, now the first one is 1, 4. So wait, did that give me enough? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Nope. Hold on. I'm going to just erase that line and rework it. Okay, so it's going to go all the way up to here because I didn't give myself enough room. Okay, 1, 4. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4. So I go to 1, and then on the y-axis, 1, 2, 3, 4. Y'all's graphs are actually labeled for you. So 1, 4 would be right here. Okay, 2, 8 would be right here. And then 0, 0. Okay, now I do not have a ruler. Actually, I do have a ruler, but I don't know how it will work on the iPad. So let me see if I can do this. Okay, not great. I didn't get it through all the things. Let me try one more time. And then if it doesn't work, then... oh, well. I don't know why my iPad is doing that. Okay, let me try one more time. Oh, no, it was still on erase. Okay, I'll get to this. I'll figure it out pretty soon. Okay, so here we go through all the dots. When you're drawing your line through all those dots, you always go all the way through the graph. I've seen some of y'all not doing that. And you always put arrows on the ends. Okay, so there's how I plotted my points, graphed it, and then it also said to label the y-intercept. So my y-intercept is down here at 0, 0. Okay, let's move on to number 3. So number 3 says y equals 4x minus 2. So I'm going to make my t-chart. I'm going to move it down here. I'm going to pick a number for x. I'm going to pick 1. I always usually start with 1 and just see if it works. So that means I would have y equals 4 times 1 minus 2. So 4 times 1 is 4, minus 2 is 2, so y equals 2. Okay, the next one, if I pick x is 2, then I would get 4 times 2 minus 2. So 4 times 2 is 8, minus 2 is 6. So if x is 2, y is 6. Okay, I'm going to go once again and pick 0 because zeros are pretty easy to do most of the time. So I have 4 times 0 is 0, 0 minus 2 is negative 2. Okay, now I need to graph these. So I'm going to make myself a little graph over here. Okay, this is the y-intercept, and I know I need to go from the highest of the y is 6, and the lowest is 2. 1, 2, so I'm going to go like this. Okay, I think that should be enough. I don't want to have to label these every time. I'm just going to label a couple of them. 2, 4, 6. Okay, so the first one is 1, 2. There's my point. The next one is 2, negative, not 2, negative, 2, positive 6. And then the next one is 0, negative 2, which is down here. Okay, and now I'm going to connect all those points. I'm laying down my ruler as best as I can on an iPad. It's not very easy. I'm going to draw my line all the way through the graph, from top to bottom of the graph. So there's my line. So this is plotting the points. This is graphing the line. And then this last part of the instructions say to write the y-intercept. So the y-intercept is 0, negative 2. Well, it says label that each y-intercept. If it's saying label the y-intercept, it means on your graph. Okay, now we're going to move down. So that goes, those instructions for 1 and 3 are the same as for 2 and 4. 2 and 4 are a little bit harder with trying to find the x and the y's, but you can do it. Just take your time and walk yourself through it. Okay, number 5 and 7. Now, on this one, these are different. They have a graph for you. And it says, give the slope of each graph and its y-intercept. So these are a little bit harder for me to show you. Okay, the graph is off to the side. Let's see. Okay, and on this one, they show you a point here. I'm going to make the points kind of big so you can see them. And then they show a point here. Now, those points are not that big on the graph, so you could go in and kind of make them bigger if that's easier for you. But we're going to count up and over to see what our slope is, because the first thing says give the slope. Okay, so I'm looking for my slope first. So I'm going to go up 1, 2, 3. So my rise is 3. Okay, and then my run is 1, 2. So my run is 2. So there's my slope, 3/2. Now I need to ask myself, is this going to be positive or negative? Well, the line is pointing to the right, so this is positive. Okay, when it points to the right. Okay, then the second part says, and its y-intercept. So this is the y-axis. So all I need to look is where it crosses the y-axis. And you can either write that as b equals 3, or you could write it as 0, 3. Either one of those I would count right when I am grading this paper. Okay, so either one of these, not both, either this one or this one. And that's all you have to do on these is count up and over, rise over run. Remember, we do rise over run. And then let's look at number 7. So on number 7, remember, if you don't get something or I'm going too fast, just stop the video and go back and watch it on your own. Okay, watch it again. Okay, here's my points. There's one point here, and then there's one point at here. Okay, so those are the only 2 points they have. Now, they don't give you all these lines that are in here like this, but you can draw them in, or you could just look over at the little notches they have here. So I looked at the notches when I was doing my key for this, when I was doing the work. And I just said, okay, that's 1 notch. So 1, 2, 3, 4. I went up 4, so my slope's rise is 4. And then I'm going to go over 1, 2, 3. So my slope is 4/3. It's pointing to the right. So this is positive. And then I need to find my y-intercept. So that is where it crosses the y-axis. So this is the point where it crosses the y-axis. So that is at +1, or I could write 0, 1. Don't write both of them, just write one of them. Okay, because if you write both of them and you wrote one of them wrong, then I'm going to count it wrong, even though you have one of them right. So make sure that you just write one of them. Okay, that's 5 and 7. 6 and 8 are the same way, but 6 and 8 are pointing to the left. So if your line is pointing to the left, you need to make sure that you do, write it as a negative, not a positive. Okay, next part, 9, 11, and 13. On 9, 11, and 13, it gives you 2 points, and it says to find the slope. So for this one, you need to remember the slope formula. Okay, slope formula when you have 2 points is x2 minus y1 over x2 minus y1. Did I say that right? y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Okay, so number 9, my points are 0, 7, and 3, 2. So remember, when you have a coordinate, it's x, y. The first number is x, and the second number is y. So this is x, and this is y. This is x, and this is y. Now, these little 1s and 2s down here tell you which one you're doing. So the first one is x1, y1, and the second one is x2, y2. So it's like the x from the first coordinates and the x from the second coordinate. Okay, so we're going to put all of those numbers in place of this. So my slope equals 2 minus 7. So see, I took y2, right, y2, which was 2, and I put that first. And then I took y1, and I did 2 minus 7. So here's, see? So I do 2 minus 7, because 2 is y2 and 7 is y1. Okay, all over 3 minus 0. So x2 minus x1, 3 minus 0. Now, if you're not good at integers, use your calculator, because some of y'all will do 2 minus 7 and put 5, but it's negative 5. 3 minus 0 is 3. And that's our slope. And that's all you have to do for number 9, is do the subtraction. You might have to simplify, which we're going to have to do on number 11. But that's okay. You just do it like you would do any other fractions. We talked in class about this little negative sign here and how sometimes you'll see it in the book like this. But I don't want you to write it like that, because kids will write it like this and I won't ever see it. It doesn't show up. So I ask that you put it on the top. If you put it on the bottom, it's not going to be wrong, but I will probably put my red pen on it and say move it to the top, just so that people can see it. Okay, number 11 was -1, -4. These are the same type of problems. I'm just putting it into the slope formula up here. Okay, so I take y2 minus y1. So 6 minus -4. Then I take x2, -3, and minus x1, minus -1. Okay, so this is going to be my slope. Now, there's lots of minuses in here, so I need to, hold on, I'm going to go. I need to change my minus to a plus and the second number to its opposite. Let me do that in a different color so that you can see that. So I'm going to change this to a plus and this to its opposite. That's how we have learned integers a long time ago, right? Change these. But if you're using a calculator, you don't even have to do that. You can just put in 6 minus -4 and you will get 10. If you don't get 10 in your calculator, you're putting something in there wrong. So 6 minus -4 is 10. -3 minus -1 is a -2. Now see, here's one where the negative ended up on the bottom. So once I simplify this, I'm going to move it. Okay, so I can simplify 10 over 2. It's the same as 10 divided by 2. If you're using your calculator and you get this answer, you can do the conversion that I showed you on your calculator. But 10 over 2 reduces to 5. So this is going to be -5 is my slope. And that's for number 11. Okay, number 13. I'm going to move this up and I'm going to rewrite my slope formula over here just so that y'all can see it and help you remember it. And number 13 was 9, 6 and -3, 0. Okay, so we're going to put that into the slope formula. So I have 0 minus 6. Y'all should be checking your worksheets because you should have already done these odds. And if you have them wrong, you should be correcting them, including the work for correcting them, not just writing down a new answer. Okay, so I have 0 minus 6 and -3 minus 9. So 0 minus 6 is -6. -3 minus 9 is -12. Because if I change this sign to plus a negative, Then I have, I'm adding two negatives. That means I add them together and use the same sign. Now I need to simplify. A negative over a negative is a positive, so those just cancel each other out. 6 over 12 simplifies to 1/2. So those can both be divided by 6. And that's how I got 1/2. So number 13, the answer is 1/2. Okay, we are getting through there. That one, hopefully, that section of finding the slope with slope formula was not that difficult. Hopefully y'all got that one right, because that is really just adding or subtracting. If you got it wrong, you could have put your numbers in the wrong place. You could have done your subtraction wrong. You could have done your reducing wrong, but you need to figure out what you did wrong so you don't do it again. Okay, now let's go on to 15, 17, and 19. On these, they tell you 3 different things to do. So if you only did one of those parts, you're going to get points taken off. So we're going to go through and do all 3 of the parts. So number 15, the instructions say, for each equation, change to slope-intercept form. That's number 1, change to slope-intercept form. Then identify the slope. That's your second thing you have to do. And your y-intercept. That's the third thing. So I'm grading 3 things on each of these. You would get a check mark for each of the 3 things. So on number 15, let's talk about what slope-intercept form is. Here's slope-intercept form, right? And once you write it in that form, then you know the slope, which is m, and the y-intercept, which is b. Okay? So let's look at number 5. This equation is already written in slope-intercept form. I just don't have a b, right? But I could put a plus 0, but I really don't want y'all to do that. But if you really wanted it to be in this form, you could do that so you could see the y-intercept. So I would just rewrite the equation the way it is, or with the plus 0. So that means my slope is 4. It's the number in front of the x. Do not include the x. If you put 4x, it's going to be wrong. And my y-intercept is 0, because that's what's at the end, right? The plus b. But this didn't have anything at the end, which means 0 is at the end. So these are the 3 things I would be checking: that you did the equation in slope-intercept form, that you wrote the slope, and that you wrote the y-intercept. 3 answers for 15, 17, 19, for that whole section, 15 through 20. Okay, number 17. Okay, I'm going to leave it right there so we can look at the slope-intercept form. Okay, number 17 is y minus 5x equals 7. Okay, so this one is not in slope-intercept form, so I need to get it into slope-intercept form. For slope-intercept form, you always want y by itself, so I'm going to get rid of this part of the equation. So if it's minus 5x, I want to move it to the other side, so I'm going to add 5x. Oops, I did not mean to put an equal sign there. So I'm going to add 5x on both sides. If I get y equals, these 2 cancel each other out, or they make 0. And then this right here, I don't add the 5 plus the 7, because those are not like terms. We only add like terms. But I'm going to put the 5x first instead of last, because I want it in this form where y equals mx plus b. So that's the first part of what you'll get a check mark on. So if I was grading this, I would say, check, you got the equation right. But the next part is to find the slope and the y-intercept. So slope is always the number in front of the x when it's in slope-intercept form. Not when it's in any form. It has to be in slope-intercept form. So my slope is 5, and then my y-intercept is this last part. That's the plus something or minus something. So my intercept is 7. So all these are my 3 check marks that I'm looking for when I'm grading your paper. I'm going to check off each of those 3 things. If you only did this part, then you're going to have 2 X's on your paper. Okay, I'm drinking some tea here if you hear me slurping. Okay, number 19. This is the last one I'm doing like this one, and this one is probably the hardest one of all of this type. So now I need to get y by itself. I have a lot of numbers going on here. The first thing I'm going to do, because I want y by itself, is get rid of this plus 3x. So I'm going to minus 3x from both sides. So those are gone, and I have 2y equals negative 3x plus 9. Okay, I'm not done because my y has a 2 in front of it. So I'm going to divide by 2 to get rid of that 2. But when I divide by 2, I have to divide each term by 2. So everything gets divided by 2. Everything that's separated with plus or minus signs. So those are terms, right? We learned about terms like on the first day of school. Well, not really the first day of school, but pretty early. So these are gone, and I have y equals negative 3/2 x plus 9/2. Okay, and so there's my equation. Now I need my slope and my y-intercept. So my slope is this number in front of x, so that would be negative 3/2. And my y-intercept is the number at the end. So those are my other two answers to number 19. Okay, if I'm going too fast, stop it. You might even want to stop in between each of these sections and go back and do the evens before I start talking about something else. So now you might want to pause it and go do 16, 18, and 20. If you don't understand something, come back to the video, watch the video again. Okay, but let's move on to the next section. Okay, the next section is use the slope and y-intercept to graph each equation. So these are super easy, but I still have some kids not understanding them. So let's go through that. Okay, if I have, first I need to have these, all of these are in slope-intercept form. Remember slope-intercept form? We just talked about it. So you know the slope and you know the y-intercept. So on this one, the slope is 3 and the y-intercept is 0. So now I need to draw myself a graph. I'm going to try to draw it kind of like y'all's was drawn, but it's going to be a little bit smaller because I don't have enough room on this iPad. And it doesn't let me do smaller squares. Okay, so the first thing you graph is the y-intercept. So on my y-axis, so on this line right here, I am going to go to 0. So here's 0, right? This is 1, 2, 3. This is -1, -2, -3. So 0 is right in the middle. And then I'm going to do my slope. But I want my slope as a fraction because I want it rise over run. So if it's not in a fraction, you could put it in a fraction by putting it over 1. So now I'm going to go up 3, 1, 2, 3, and over 1. So there's my second point. And you can just do it that one time and draw your lines, or you could go up another 3 and over another 1. Oh, wait, I need to make sure that I went the right way. You go right for positive and left for negative. This is a positive slope. So I did go the right way. I went to the right. I'm going to go ahead and go down 3 and over 1 so that I could get a better line here. And I am attempting to do this on my iPad. Okay, there you go. That was a pretty straight line. Okay, and that's how you graph when you have a slope-intercept form of an equation. Well, that's number 21. Okay, let's go to 23. 23 is y equals -2x plus 1. So find your slope and your y-intercept first. And in fact, if you're graphing, you can look for your y-intercept first because that's the first thing you graph, and then look at your slope. So my y-intercept is 1. So I'm going to go on my y-axis. I'm going to go to 1 and put a dot, okay, because that's the y-intercept. Now the next part is the -2, and that's my slope, but I want it to look like a fraction, so that's -2 over 1. So some of y'all were saying, well, if it's negative, why don't you go down? You could go down or up. It doesn't matter as long as your line is leaning the right way. So I always go up first because I find it easier. So if I go up 2 and then over 1, I need to decide, am I going over 1 this way or over 1 this way? Well, I look at it, and this is a negative, so I'm going to go to the left. Okay, and I could also go down 2 and over 1. See how I can make this line have the same slope over and over again by going up 2 over 1, down 2 over 1. I could do it either way as long as it is going to the left and has the same slope. Okay, so here's my line. I draw it all the way through my graph. right? It goes all the way through. So if this is my graph, my line goes all the way through the graph. It doesn't just stop. It doesn't go like this. Okay, you're going to get points taken off. Probably half your points taken off if you draw a line like that. So don't do that. Okay, you want it to go all the way through. And there's my graph for 23. That was probably the easiest part of this whole worksheet, was those first few problems. Now the next ones have the same instructions, but they get a little bit harder after 25. Okay, so let's look at 25. 25 has x equals 5. Okay, we learned about a couple of different slopes. We learned about positive slope, right? Positive slope points to the right. Negative slope points to the left. Horizontal is 0 slope, and vertical is no slope. Okay, well this equation cannot be written in slope-intercept form because I don't have a y. So you could, I don't want you doing this on all of them, but you could do this with the t-chart. But this is easier. Hold on, I need to make sure this is long enough. This is easier by saying, where does x equal 5? Well, here's my x-axis. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there x equals 5. But I can't put a line here because x doesn't equal 5 there. So where else does x equal 5? Well, right here, it's 5, 1, so x equals 5. Here, that's 5, 2, so x equals 5. See, if I was making a t-chart for this one, I know that x is always going to be 5, so this would be 5, 5, 5, 5, 5. As many 5s as you want. Y's would be all of these. And so my line is going to be a vertical line. When it's x equals a number, hold on, I'm going to write this down for you after I draw my line. Draw my line all the way through. And then whenever you see a vertical line, the equation is going to be x equals, a number. Okay. And if you see a horizontal line, the equation is going to be y equals a number. I should put number sign there. Hold on, I got to plug in my iPad because it's running out of juice. Okay, so if you see x equals a number or y equals a number, they look harder because for a second you're going, wait a minute, this isn't what I've been doing, but they're really pretty easy. As long as you can either plot like all the x's have 5s or all the y's have a certain number, like let's say we have y equals 2, then I would go up here, y equals 2, the y-axis is 2, but this is also where y equals 2, this is also, and so this line would be y equals 2, okay? So a horizontal line is y equals a number with no x's in it, and a vertical line is x equals a number with no y's in it, because notice this line does not ever hit the y-axis. And this line does not ever hit the x-axis. That's why they don't have them in there. The only ones that is different for is if it's x equals 0 or y equals 0. And those are actually on the axis. Okay, let's move on to 27. And your worksheet is a little kooky in the way that they numbered things. I didn't number them this way. This was just the way they were numbered. So number 27 says 4x minus y equals 7. So what I want to do first, because the directions said use the slope and y-intercept, is I want to put this into slope-intercept form. So we've already done a whole bunch of these on another section. So I'm going to minus the 4x. So I get negative y equals negative 4x plus 7. And then I want to get rid of this negative. Some of y'all would be able to tell me how to get rid of that negative, and others do not. There are a lot of different ways you can do it. I'm going to pretend like this, well, not pretend, this is a negative 1 in front of the y, so I'm going to divide by negative 1. When I do that, I need to divide everything by negative 1. So y equals 4x, and then, because this makes it positive, and then this one makes it negative, so it's minus 7. So my slope is 4, and my y-intercept, which we call b, is negative 7. So I'm going to draw a graph here, and I want to make sure that I get all the way down to negative 7 on the y-intercept. So I'm going to kind of draw it long, and skinny. All y'all's graphs were the same, so it doesn't matter as much. Okay, so first I graph my y-intercept at -7. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, -7. I'm going to graph my line there. And then my slope is 4, so that means 4 over 1. I'm going to go up 1, 2, 3, 4, and over 1. And I'm going to do it again. 1, 2, 3, 4, and over 1. That way I can make sure that my line's super straight. I put my ruler down and draw my line through the entire graph. Okay, and there's my graph for number 27. Okay, last one of the odds for the worksheet is 29, and we're still doing the same type. We're graphing using the slope and the y-intercept. So 29 is 12x minus 4y equals 8. So I'm going to minus 12x on both sides. Remember, when you do this, that negative stays with the 4y. So these go away, and I have negative 4y equals negative 12x plus 8. Okay, now I'm going to divide by -4 to get rid of that. I have to do it on all of the numbers, all of the terms. So y equals 3x minus, so why that turned into an arrow, minus 2. Or you could put plus a -2. Okay, now I know my slope is 3, or 3 over 1, because if I'm graphing, I want it to be a fraction. And my y-intercept is -2. Make sure that that negative, or that minus sign, goes with the 2. It makes it a -2. Okay, I'm glad we're almost done because my throat is starting to hurt. I'm talking too much. Okay, so first I'm going to graph the y-intercept. So I go down to -2 on the y-axis. And then my slope is 3, 1. So I'm going to go up 1, 2, 3. And over to the right one, because this is positive, right here. The slope is positive. Let me just make sure. Did I do this one? Yes, I did that one. Going the right way. Okay, and I could do another one. I could go up 3 more. 1, 2, 3, and over 1. I could go down 3, 1, 2, 3, and over to the other way, just as long as it's pointing to the right when it is positive. And there is my line for number 29. Okay, that's it for the odds. Make sure that you have these all written down correctly on your worksheet, and that you don't have any of them wrong, since I just did all of them for you and with you, and hopefully that helps you do the even numbers. That's all.